What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Froch, Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. Get this. Froch changes his Spence Crawford prediction. He says, I've done my research now. Froch revealed that he has a last-minute change of heart for this weekend's undisputed welterweight world title fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Now, previously asked, Froch sided with the three-weight world champion Crawford to emerge victorious, describing him as a special talent. But now he's switching it up. This is what he had to say. He said, I want to say Terence Crawford, but I also want to say Errol Spence. I've also looked at this and done my research. The naturally bigger man is Errol Spence, and the size could be a difference, especially down the home stretch. Crawford's a little bit older and has more miles on the clock. So I think I'm switching. I'm going with Errol Spence to rip the script up. Those are the words of Froch, and let me counterpunch. I can respect that and I can understand it based on not biased because, Froch is from the UK. I don't think he has a pony in the show whatsoever. These are just two top guys in their prime and they're doing what they can do to each other. Okay. So the idea or the combination that he had with Terence Crawford being 3 years older, and Terence Crawford being the naturally small guy versus Errol Spence being 3 years younger and Errol Spence being the naturally bigger guy and the younger guy. I can understand why he said it. Am I switching up? No. Because I think Terence Crawford can do things that Errol Spence can't. But here is the question, and it's always, and we won't know this, people. We won't know this shit until it happens. Will Errol Spence and what he always does be enough to beat Terence Crawford? That's what you ask yourself, because what Errol Spence does is pretty fucking impressive, okay? It's pretty damn impressive. And when you're dealing with someone like Errol Spence and now he's waited out, and he's the king of just jumping in there with fighters. He did that with Danny Garcia, and he didn't want a tune-up. And a lot of times, and he could have had a tune-up, but he didn't want one. And now he was like, he didn't want to fight Keith Thurman. He wanted Terence Crawford. Now he has Terence Crawford. You can't say he's not ready. But if anything, whoever wins between these two guys, there can no longer be excuses about anything. I wouldn't even factor in the 3 years because I don't think that matters to me. The size might have mattered 4 or 5 years ago when Terence Crawford was new in the division, before he really acclimated. That would have been a problem then, but it's not now because we see Terence Crawford is, you can tell he's definitely acclimated and he's filled in. Now, he's not bigger than Errol Spence. No, he's not. But he's been in there with big guys. So that's not a big difference. But has he been in there with that big guy like Errol Spence before? So there's a lot of question marks concerning Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. That's why I'm so excited for the fight. That's why, like I promised you guys, it's going to be nothing but Errol Spence and Terence Crawford for the most part on Counterpunch Boxing News. And this is something that we can use. And it is a great debate and a good question. Errol Spence bigger, strong, who we don't know if stronger, but bigger and younger. That's the factor. Terence Crawford, more miles on the clock, more fights. Terence Crawford has more knockouts than Errol Spence has fights. 30 knockouts compared to 28 wins. Okay? Well, should we compare 30 knockouts to 22 knockouts? So, yeah, that should tell you something. The knockout race or the knockouts that Terence Crawford has, he has. So he has 8 more fights, right? So, he's been around longer. So that's a equivalent of maybe 2, 3, 4, 3 years. That's about right. Because even if it was 2 years, maybe 4 years, because it's 8 fights. If you do two fights a year, there you go. So yeah, he has those miles on the clock, but he was rising in competition. Now, what I want to bring to this discussion and challenge Carl Froch's ideology on that is, when he was beating these guys, for the most part, like the 6th or 7th guy, we had Jeff Horn, we had Amir Khan, Jeff Horn, Jose Benavidez, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, Mean Machine, and then Sean Porter. That's 6. So he stopped all of those guys. None of those went to distance. He's moving up. His age is moving up. But I think when you age, you naturally grow. So I think it was the perfect time for Terence Crawford to go to 147. I think it's the perfect size for him right now. Now, had this been at 140, this would have been different, because an older guy, 35, that's growing, that's going into his last part of his career, may have problems keeping that weight at 140. See, that would be an issue if that was the case, if he would have had to starch himself or do things that his body is telling him, no, I don't really want to do anymore. Like, take, for example, Errol Spence. Errol Spence has admitted, like, look, the nutritionist, the making weight, that shit's the problem. It ain't the working out. It's the fact of making this weight, because I am getting older. I am bigger. I am younger, but I'm getting older, so my body is aging, and it's growing with my age. That's the problem. That's the point. And I think Terence Crawford grew perfectly with his age. So as his age increased, his weight increased naturally and gradually. Okay, not all at once. So that's why I don't buy the weight bid or the age bid. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Carl Froch switching up, picking Errol Spence to defeat Terence Bud Crawford, July 29th. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!